Assassin Creed Mirage is reportedly going to be a smaller game because fans are burnt out on the massive open world format. I want to react to an article from The Gamer about this. If you're not familiar with Assassin's Creed, that'd be kind of odd, but if you aren't, they have gone through a bit of a critical aspect of their games from their fans. I call them Assassin's Creed purists, the people that look at Assassin's Creed and they will say that Assassin's Creed Valhalla was not an Assassin's Creed game. Some of them even look at Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey and say the same thing. I, for one, am in the camp of people who thought the franchise did need to sort of reinvent itself and not be so formulaic as it was in the past. I'm welcome to disagreement there, but I thought Assassin's Creed Origins was like my favorite so far, and they did that soft reboot. However, even in the realm of Assassin's Creed games, there are people who criticize them and say they're just too dense, there's all this bloat. I call it, Assassin's Creed map puke. It's as if the map's just been sort of puked on. Not the greatest imagery, but you know what I mean when you play that kind of a game and you open up the map and your sense of wanting to do completionist activities is almost discouraged because the map is so full. So I wanted to look at this article and just see how they argued their point, because I know there are people that are looking forward to AC Mirage for that reason. It's a return to roots. It's going to be more stealthy. Even in the artwork, you can see here, zoomed in for you, this guy looks like a classic assassin. And the article basically is stipulating and speculating and saying, listen, they are going for a more intimate, character-driven story. This is not going to feel like the games that everybody's been complaining about recently with, massive open worlds. And I happen to think that's why Assassin's Creed started leaning into live service, because, hey, we've got this massive map. Why don't we start using it? I've continued to tell people that I think AC Valhalla is going to impact the industry, and many future action-adventure games are going to lean into that aspect of ongoing live service. That's maybe already happening with Horizon Forbidden West, with one of the announced versions of that game coming out in the future being multiplayer driven, and I've even made my own speculations about what might happen with Ghost of Tsushima. So let's see what the article says here. If you're a relatively recent Assassin's Creed fan and then the Assassin's Creed Mirage, it's going to feel very different. I think that that's probably true. If you dove in the recent Assassin's Creeds with Origins, Odyssey, or Valhalla, they're more traditional action-adventure RPG-style games, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if that rings true with people who end up feeling like, oh my gosh, this is not the game that I thought it was going to be. Where Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla had massive open worlds to explore with dozens upon dozens of characters and quests, Mirage will take the series back to its more character-driven roots. That is to say, it is not going to be open world at all. Now, I didn't actually know that. I did not know that they were completely abandoning the idea of doing an open world game entirely. I knew it was going to be smaller and more stealth focused, more Assassin's Creed roots focused, but I didn't know they were completely abandoning open world. Instead, Mirage will harken back to the original Assassin's Creed games and feature a more linear level design full of set-piece moments that drive the plot toward an epic conclusion. The thing that I'll be very curious about is to see is if the Assassin's Creed purists, as I call them, I say that with love in my heart, I'm not trying to be mean, but they're purists, they want to return to the old era. I'm going to be really curious what they think of this. Are they going to start to see the cracks in the veneer? Are they going to say, man, this was great back then, but this format hasn't aged as well? I'm not saying that it won't age well. I'm just curious what the reception will be from all of the people who have continued to ask for that style to return. And that's probably a good thing too, since Assassin's Creed games and Ubisoft in general have developed a reputation for bloating their titles with repetitive quests in order to artificially lengthen gameplay. This is one of the reasons why I think unintentionally they've shown these games are perfect for live service, so that instead of bloating the map at launch, you stretch all that out and you could have a game last for years with great expanded experiences, new areas, new missions, new quests, new loot, and it could just go and go and go. I think that's probably far better in some people's minds. Not everybody likes that, but in some people's minds that's probably far better than getting the game and being like, well, I want to play this single-player action-adventure game and get everything done, but it's going to take me over 100 hours, and I better quit my job and stop hanging out with my friends, because we all experience that sort of, well, I've been playing the game for a couple of weeks, I've kind of lost interest. It's hard to maintain interest in games like this for a super extended amount of time, especially when it's very bloated, as the article stated. Some fans don't mind, but others are finding it a little hard to deal with, especially in comparison with other open-world games like Elden Ring. I've continued to say that Elden Ring is the new archetype for open-world game design. I don't think every game needs to be identical to it, but you should aspire to take some inspiration from what they did in Elden Ring, as well as Breath of the Wild. The sense of mystery, exploratory purpose, and discovery is something that some games should try to sprinkle more of in their game. You don't have to completely leave the character in the dark as they did in Elden Ring, but I do think you should take some inspiration from how withholding and mysterious they were, because I think maybe too many games are doing the classic pull open the menu, there's 1,000 icons, and then when you get out of the menu, there's a bunch of icons on your screen. I'm looking at you, Forspoken. You know, Forspoken's UI and all the icons and stuff, it's like, here we go again, another action-adventure game where I gotta go find all this stuff, do all this stuff. If you gamify a game too much, there's no sense of experience or mystery or exploration, or like I'm going on a journey. It's like, well, here we go again, a game that's going to feed me things to do. I've got a bunch of homework and, assignments. So you would focus, I think, more on gameplay and content loops if games weren't so much and so often getting in the way of themselves. And I think fans are probably looking forward to seeing how Mirage intends to do that. Let's take a look at the quote down here from the creative director, I don't know if this is Stephanie or Stefan Bowden, so I apologize for not knowing how to pronounce that. Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, they're all great games with the promise to live an epic journey in a strong fantasy, stated creative director in an interview with Games Radar. Amongst our fans, we started hearing the desire for a character-driven story, focused on the core pillars of the first ACs in a more intimate scale. It resonates with us well as developers, and this was the starting point for the project. So, good job, Assassin's Creed fans, and good job, Assassin's Creed purists. You did what you're supposed to do. You provided feedback. You did it in a way that was sensible. They heard you. They're like, okay, they want to return to that character-driven. They want to return, not just character-driven. That's a very simple summary of what people have been saying. I'm going to expand on this a little bit. People wanted to return to stealth, which is why that's a great picture to use right there. They got tired of the sort of, it's been described in my chat sometimes when we're discussing this as it's just action-adventure hack and slash. And I can see that, especially in Valhalla. There was a giant departure from feeling like an assassin. Everyone's screaming, "Rah!" and you're just charging around and raiding, and there's tons of people on the screen. And I thought that was fine. I completely understand and sympathize and empathize with people who felt that was a giant destruction to the brand and the identity of Assassin's Creed. I hear you, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. I see it from a different angle. My experience and my own opinion on it is it was time for the franchise to sort of reinvent itself, to modernize itself a little bit, to sort of transcend what they had done so many different times. And one of the big pushbacks I give to the Assassin's Creed purists is Assassin's Creed Black Flag. That is one of the more popular Assassin's Creed amongst fans of the game, and it was a giant departure from the stealth-focused, sneaky-focused, assassin-focused games. You were a pirate, and tons of people spent way more time on their boat than they did actually doing any assassinating, which is one of the reasons why they built Skull and Bones, which is just such a disappointing project for many reasons, but I think that's why that project exists. I think they looked at player behavior and said, wow, people really like to be on their boat in Assassin's Creed Black Flag. They're going to swing and miss on that title, I'm afraid. But I do think Black Flag is proof that, hey, we can really jettison out from what we've been doing and people really like it. And I also think we've seen this. I made this argument the other day. If you look at Far Cry, typically when a Far Cry comes out, it gets criticized for being formulaic, for basically being just another Far Cry, and people criticize it for that. Well, I would imagine if Assassin's Creed would not have sort of reinvented and rebooted itself with Assassin's Creed Origins, it would have gone through a similar criticism. Here we go again, another Assassin's Creed with similar missions and similar setups and assassinations and linear quest and level design. It wouldn't have surprised me at all if we would have seen those types of criticisms. So you're sort of, darned if you do and darned if you don't. If you do not reinvent yourself and you go formulaic so it's predictable, familiar, and fans can sort of know what to expect, you get criticism for being just another Far Cry. When you start to expand and break out and become a little bit more action-adventure RPG than linear stealth, story-based, well, then you get criticized for abandoning your roots and your identity. Now, elsewhere in the interview, Bowden described how Mirage will return to a more traditional Assassin's Creed design, but will still be a vast improvement over the likes of Assassin's Creeds 1, 2, and 3. Now, this is very exciting for me because I think those games are great, but I don't think you want to go back and play those essentially again. If Assassin's Creed Mirage was essentially another Assassin's Creed 1, 2, or 3, almost feeling like a spiritual remake, I think people would have really disliked that. They'd be like, man, this has kind of an old game feel, so that vast improvement, I think, is needed so that it doesn't feel like a dated or, outdated piece of, a relic of the past, as it were. For starters, new hardware means the map will be rich and denser than the first AC games, with more gameplay opportunities, more interactions between systems, more depth. It also means incredible and immersive details to treat Baghdad as one of the main characters of Mirage. Now, I love this line, because I love when game directors, art directors, and game developers look at a game and say, hey, we want the world to be a character in the game. I think that's usually a good sign, because they're putting a lot more work into those authentic feels. Many people have looked at games recently like Sonic Frontiers and Forspoken in their early stages and trailers, and they're like, it just looks like a generic world. It doesn't look like it has any main character aspects to it, and so hearing this, I think, is really exciting. Now, some people might be concerned when they hear that the map's going to be richer and denser, but given that it's going to be mainly centered around Baghdad and not be that open world that we've had in other Assassin's Creeds, this should actually end up being a very good game if they make good on these promises. That is conditional that they actually do the things that they're stating here, but I do think this all looks very promising. Like, anybody who enjoyed Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey, or Valhalla, I think can read this and be excited. Just go in knowing you're getting a different type of game. You're going to get a more contained experience. They say, lastly here, you can get a preview of what to expect in Mirage with Valhalla's last chapter, which brings Ivor and Roshan together for one last dance. I might be pronouncing those names wrong. I think it is Ivor, but I'm not sure how to say Roshan. Mirage doesn't have a release date, but it's expected to arrive sometime in 2023, hopefully. I think we're getting this in 2023. I do think it's going to be hailed as a return to roots. I have a good feeling about this game. I'm not trying to hype it up, but I have a good feeling about this game. I think they've got good direction. They're saying things about it that make me feel they've got good vision and scope for the game. Oftentimes, game scope gets too broad. This game scope doesn't seem that way. It seems focused, and it seems like they're checking off all the right boxes for those Assassin's Creed purists who have been looking for a return to roots, stealth, and story. As always, if you like these quick videos and reactions, hit subscribe and the bell button so you don't miss these videos or my live streams, and I'll see you in the next video.